Welcome to the Shades of Grey podcast with Dr. John Gray, New York Times bestselling author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And now, Dr. John Gray.
Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about the 5 stages of dating. And even couples who are married will also relate to this because ideas are the same in terms of how love moves along. You'll see how once you're in a relationship, love tends to move along in the same way, with some variation, of course. So we're going to look at the first stage of dating and the second all the way to 5. In short, just to say what they are, it's attraction. You know, you start out, there's feelings of attraction. We're going to look at how we, without an understanding of how men and women are different, how we can unknowingly sabotage the attraction in a relationship and pick the wrong partner or pick the right partner. So the second stage is uncertainty. Once you've established there's a strong attraction in a relationship and you're feeling drawn to somebody, you're already dating for a while, it could be a month or 2, always in the beginning of a relationship, the newness will stimulate more attraction, even if they're not compatible. That's the that's the challenge here, is you could be attracted to the wrong person. But anyway, once the newness starts to settle out, whether you're with the right person or the wrong person for you, if you're looking for a long-term relationship. Thanks for coming in, everybody. It's the show today is the 5 stages of dating. Mariah, hi, from Glendale, California. The second stage is you start feeling this could be the one, and you'll start to feel uncertain. It's a natural thing because I know for me, in terms of buying a house, what will happen is you get very close to buying it, then your brain will start realizing this could be the one. I'm going to spend a lot of money on this, and your brain starts to get a little afraid. You start to become more concerned, and so you go into a stage of uncertainty. So uncertainty is tricky. That's the second stage, attraction, then uncertainty. If you're feeling like this could be the one, or here's the confusing thing, if you're realizing this is not the one, that's going to happen during uncertainty. So that's the make or break moment. And there's a lot of times where we unknowingly sabotage that level of uncertainty if we're looking for a long-term lasting relationship, as opposed to going from one to another, or feeling discouraged and giving up. So that's the second. The third is commitment. You start to realize, okay, this is the one for me. You come out of uncertainty, you realize, okay, I really think this is the right person for me. And the fourth is then you have intimacy. And intimacy is, one aspect of intimacy is, for some people who wait to have sex, maybe you've already had sex, whatever, but intimacy is where you feel safe to be yourself. You have commitment, means now I can relax. Now, for women, when they can relax, that's really where they can bring forth the depth of who they are and seal the deal. For men, often when commitment happens, we'll see there's challenges for men because it's kind of like you climb the mountain of success and then you go, okay, I made it, I don't have to do anything. So men will tend to become passive at that time. Women will become needy at that time. And we'll explore why. And her neediness can push him away. His passivity can push her away. And what we can do to avoid that, what to expect. We'll be looking at this. And this is all in my book, Mars, Venus on a Date. And it's a great manual for creating a long-term relationship or for getting married, just to be aware of the ways that we can unknowingly sabotage. That's the whole key to it. And so we've got the 4th stage, which is intimacy, and then the 5th stage, which is engagement. I have a little to say on that as well, because sometimes People rush off to Las Vegas to get married or something, and it sets a foundation for problems later. And we'll get into that, because if you give yourself time during the engagement stage, it's not to even test it out. To a certain extent, you already feel like this is the right person for me, and let's get married and create that life together. It's if you get married too soon, sometimes you're still in the attraction stage, which can be infatuation, and therefore once the bloom of new love, the newness goes away, you're left with somebody you're not really wanting to be with, and then you get early stage divorce. That's when we look at the divorce statistics. What we see is that, you hear these statistics of people getting divorced. What is it? It's still something like 50% of couples getting married are also getting divorced. So there's a lot of turnaround. But that's particularly for people who get married in their 20s. Just to take that in as a statistic and a truth. It's really, less than 30% who are getting divorced who get married in their early, from 30 up, we'll put it that way. So when you're more mature, you tend to pick the right person. Quite often, you've picked somebody after being in a few relationships. Not that people who are in their first relationship don't live happily ever after. That's also possible. And a lot of people do live happily ever after. It's really important to know that. When you look at statistics like 50% get divorced, now you're looking at like 25, 30% getting divorced, and that means 75% are happily married or somewhat happily married. At least they're not lonely and unhappy in that way. They may have lost the passion, which is quite common for couples, and because that wasn't necessarily a value in previous generations. They're still having sex. What is it, like 80%, 70% of couples who over 60 are still having sex. It's not necessarily the passionate form of sex, but they are having sex, and that's good. They stay together, they're happy in their lives together. Love can last. So then you have, I'm just quoting from statistics I find online. I don't do those studies or anything, and they're always open to flaws, of course, but probably they're somewhat accurate. Then we've got the whole stage of engagement. We'll talk a little bit about that as well, because the key of having a good 6 months engagement, 9 months engagement, something like that, allows you to, and any timing I give, it's varied for everybody, but the sequence is pretty universal. So the 9 months of engagement, it could be a year of engagement. What's happening is, best wishes. Oh, I missed it. Thank you for reminding what a real date is, especially important for girl teenagers that start dating too soon and have wrong presumptions. Oh, we'll definitely look at that. Dating for teenagers. Thank you for bringing that up. This is someone thanking me for giving information in advance. I wasn't even thinking about teenagers, but it would probably come out. So this is going to be dating at all ages as well as for teenagers. Certain things will apply differently. But when we're engaged, what happens is you don't have all of the pressures of moving in together, and we'll talk about that too. What happens when you move in together? Not that I'm against it, because it's very practical today, but let's just look at the challenges that we have in the whole process. Lots of different challenges. But when you have a longer engagement period where you're not having to manage finances, manage decision-making about how you're going to live your life together, getting used to being together, what he does, what she does, and all that activity, you're giving yourself a chance to do it while you still have a way out. There's something about once you get into something and you have no way out. And when you get married, one of the benefits of marriage, it's not easy to get out. You made your statement, you've done it, and you might say, well, gee, if you feel like you have to get out, didn't you marry the wrong person? No. whenever we're humans, and humans always have a tendency to go up and down, in and out. Our moods change. We have a bright side, we have a dark side. And what happens is we hit in a sense, a marriage is a creative act. I mean, making love is creativity, making babies is creativity, creating a life together. It's a big act of creativity. And if you read books on creativity, or if you're a creative person, you'll find that always, before you take the next level of creativity, where you create something new, there's always a struggle, okay? It's not like always easy. You've got to be able to sit with that struggle, and then you move through. Once you sit with it with your intention and you bring forth your awareness, there'll be some struggle. How am I going to do this? I don't know how to do this. I'm not sure about how to do this. And then you get into the flow. So there's a creativity. Sometimes this procrastination is a very common thing with creativity. Life just doesn't flow all the time if you're a creative person. If you're not a creative person, it's a bit easier. You don't have the passion, the zest for life, so to speak, but you're just running on programming. But today, I think with the enlightened consciousness coming onto the planet, the awareness of good and bad. When I grew up in the 50s, you didn't understand that there were hugely corrupt governments. And, we have a whole false history, false sense of history. We've been shielded from seeing the evil that exists in the world, the manipulation of countries. How many of you know the Bolshevik Revolution? You hear about World War II. 50 million Christians were murdered by the Bolsheviks, the communists. 50 million Christians. This is just evil incarnation beyond anything. We're now understanding the corruption of big companies. We're understanding the corruption in the world. This we can look at this as a negative, with the what do I say, the Epstein Island, that whole scene thing, what's coming out, and all these emails that are being found, the evil, the sex trafficking, the children trafficking, the horrible sex slavery. This wasn't just a long time ago. This has always been the case. And we're becoming aware of the evil in the world. Now, why is that a good thing? Well, the evil's not a good thing, but being aware of it is a good thing. So our awareness, our consciousness is rising to a much higher level. And so coming back to the stages of dating, again, it's more challenging because we're more conscious, we're more aware of our feelings. Feelings to me are like bombs. They can make things fantastic, or they can destroy things. If we don't understand, our feelings can be so irrational, so over the top, meaning you could have positive feelings about this person who's not good for you. You could have no feelings for somebody who is good for you. So how do we reconcile this? With wisdom. Now we have consciousness, higher consciousness, we have awareness, we have wisdom, we have knowledge, we have love, we have compassion. All of these things have gone to a higher level of challenge. And so we navigate this with greater knowledge and wisdom and insight, and the rewards are fantastic. Fantastic. And even in terms of health, we've become aware of the whole evil in the medical industry. Not the doctors. Doctors are just following what they've learned. But when you look at the people who are making money off of you, the corruption of that. I have a friend who just had a stent put in, and which is good. And it was $250,000 to have a stent put in. Surgery didn't take very long. Come on, this is like insanity. So you have to have insurance, otherwise you'll go broke, and so then you can raise the prices of insurance. And the insurance companies and the hospitals, it's just one hand to the other. It's the same people. So they just do that so that you have to have insurance. Otherwise, you would go broke if you have some medical procedure, which is great. We have great medical procedures, but then the people at the top who make money on all this have just turned it into complete corruption. We know that the online pornography, this is just horrible. It was strikingly I remember, see, I grew up when there was Playboy, and Playboy was women in bathing suits, basically. Two-piece bathing suit was pornography that couldn't be sold on a stand. And now we've got this insanity of online pornography and OnlyFans. It's destroying the souls of these girls and the guys who are using it, addicted to it. All of this inhibits our ability to have a healthy relationship with the opposite sex. And so what we have is this sort of deranged society, much like Berlin many, many years ago, when, what was it, National Socialism came in order to try to stop it all. There was all pornography, there was all this free sex, degenerate sex, anything goes sex. And this just gave birth to another war. So we've grown in consciousness, and what we want to do is use the dating process to find love, to open our hearts. And the opening of the heart gives us the ability to create the new world that we're entering into. But it's inevitable anyway. The consciousness is there. We're aware of the evil of pornography. We're aware, like big time evil. So it's like the amount of, as the light increases, the darkness increases. And there's a balance there. So what we want to do is, in the 5 stages of dating, is to know that we have a much higher potential to experience lasting love. And these challenges are there that weren't there before. And so having this knowledge of the pitfalls of the 5 stages of dating will help you. And you'll see how this does apply in your marriages as well. So that 5th stage, which is being able to begin interacting together, starting to create a life together, but not yet fully into the marriage. It's like, I'm still free to get out. I'm still free to get out. So that gives you kind of an ease and a comfort while you're experiencing positive interactions without feeling that, in a sense, the claustrophobia of being in a committed relationship. Let me explain this. Yeah, Playboy was classy porn. It was. Okay. So, and not so bad. A little bit of everything is fine, in my opinion, but it just got out of hand. Hi, Kaylor. Good to see you. So once we're moving along here in the 5 stages of dating, we'll get off of the bigger picture and come right down to, you're looking for a date. How do you find a date? For some people, it's, online dating can be good, and everything has a good and dark side. There's a lot of people that found lasting love online. It's also very, very frustrating for many people. And we sort of disconnected from natural dating. So natural dating would be meeting people. Actually, if you go back, it would be somebody telling you about somebody, or at least dating somebody who knows somebody you know. So there's a feeling of safety. So putting out the words, joining groups, being part of a group. These are the places where you meet people. Also online, if you meet people online, one of the challenges there is you can be so attracted to somebody when you're not in their energy field. I have to go back to my own experiences here. In 8th grade, I was, this girl, some mystery girl, was calling me on the phone who really liked me. I didn't know who she was, but just having the mystery of who this person was who liked me, I fell in love with her. And then when I actually met her, there wasn't any attraction at all. And it wasn't that she was not physically appealing, it was just energetically, it wasn't there. So what I suggest is we all live in kind of a fantasy world until reality hits in. And if you're using pictures of you when you were younger or at a different time in your life, and where you weren't as beautiful in terms of your marketability online, if you're using pictures that aren't accurate, then when you meet each other and the energies don't fit together, are not compatible, the attraction just isn't there in reality, what will happen is you'll think it's because it's your physical appearance. You'll conclude it's your physical appearance. And it's not necessarily your physical appearance. It could be. Some people put up pictures of movie stars, and then you get in touch with the real person. You I feel tricked and deceived, whatever. And then you can do the line, oh, it's my physical appearance. Yeah, it's like you're not who you said you are. So you want to be accurate in that, and also just to protect your own feelings, because if you're rejected, if the attraction isn't there, and this is why on porn, one of the reasons why with porn, if you look at the average, a person in porn goes from one woman to another woman to another woman to another woman. They never stay because it's not real. And this is why porn is so bad, is that it's not real. You're opening your heart up to something which is a robot, which is a machine. And this is why, again, we're heading down the disaster train, because already we've got 30% of boys in America who, like in their 30s, have never had real sex, but they've been having sex with porn. I'm not in any way despairing if a young guy chooses, for spiritual reasons, to not have sex. I mean, that's a lucky guy. Many, many traditions, they didn't, until your prefrontal cortex developed, which is around 28 years old, you were recommended to not have sex. And that would be giving your body a chance to develop before you start depleting it of what they call your life force energy, which is for males associated with their semen, the chi energy in a physical form. I only speak this because I had that ability. I had that gift, which is 18, I stopped having sex. I was having sex as a teenager. I liked it a lot. Then I became the Beatles. Back in the day, the Beatles had gone to India to study meditation. They said you can get high without having to do drugs. Well, I thought that was a good idea. Having done the 60s drug thing and all the music festivals and getting high and everything, it was really, really fun, but it would leave me feeling really, really low. And then the Beatles, who were on a pedestal for me at the time, and they'd gone to India, and they said you can get high without drugs, without crashing. And I thought, this sounds great for me. And I went off to study with the Maharishi of Transcendental Meditation. It's a wonderful time of my life, and learned a lot, experienced a lot, got my enlightenment, and it was wanted to be just like him. He was a male figure for me, who was successful, world famous. He was happy all the time. I was assistant. I traveled with him. I studied with him. I taught his teacher training program. I was totally devoted to that until my brain developed fully. And then I stopped teaching meditation. And although I continue meditating, I'm still a spiritual guy, but taught something completely different. I found myself, and that was, what I needed there was a role model to awaken the potential teacher inside of me, and all those good qualities of masculinity. So I had a great role model. I totally believe in males having good role models. It's different from having your father be your role model. That could help too. But there's something about stepping out from that, expanding from that. You can be like your father, and then you can then step beyond that. And then I had a teacher, and then I stepped beyond that to find my message, how I was to give to the world, or add my sense to it. So the idea there is, we're talking, what happened during that time for me was he was a celibate, which is part of the Indian tradition. Celibacy is a big part of developing your spiritual consciousness. And it's also very commonly taught to be celibate until you're about 28, 29, the stage of brahmachari. And today, we have no awareness of the importance of chastity or chosen celibacy without, it's not like it's different from this 30% of males who are just busy masturbating off to robots and so forth and fake, and girls, huge amount of girls now earning money, prostituting themselves online and OnlyFans. This should be totally illegal. This should not be encouraged. This should be, people should be protected from thinking these things, normalizing these things. That's the problem, is we normalize it. Kaler says that's so important about meeting someone in person and about energy fields. There's a real problem for people with online dating. Yeah, what's happening is your ability to feel good about yourself. Part of dating is in this traction field. We'll shift gears to, we're still in stage one now talking about it, is when you're when you want to be attractive, you have to feel attractive. People are attracted to you when you feel I'm attractive. I have something to offer. And I've watched some of these dating things, and the guys are like tough on the girls, and the girls are not educated, put it politely. And one of the topics is, what do you bring into the relationship? You women have these unrealistic expectations of men. He should be making this $500,000, and he should be making this much a year, $1 million a year, and he should be doing this, and he should do this. He should be this height and everything. They've got this idealistic male that they're going to wait for, and the guy will say, "So what do you offer? You want him to do all this for you? What do you offer to the relationship?" And it's really an unfair question, because ultimately, and this is the point I want to make, what women primarily offer in a relationship is her capacity and her ability to love. That's what men are really looking for. What women are really looking for is security. They want to be with a man where they don't feel they have to take care of themselves fully. They should be able to, this is the great news about our modern society, if you don't have a man, you should be able to take care of yourself. You have a job, you have education and all that. But ultimately, what gives you peace of mind is the feeling that I'm not alone, and I have somebody who can care for me, and I don't have to do it all myself. And you might say, well, men want that too. Yeah, it's just not on the top list for us. Okay, the top of the list for a guy is to feel like I can be successful in providing for you. I can be successful in that. And for her, she has to feel you could be successful in providing a deeper sense of security in my life. So safety is always this important message for women. Success, the anticipation of success is the thing that a man is going to feel attracted to a woman. He's going to be most attractive to her if he has this confidence. I mean, my wife always is saying to me, she says, "You're so confident." It's so attractive to be with a man who is not ruffled by life. If guys could understand that, it's the confidence. And unfortunately, what's happening today is that, as you've heard in all my other talks, is there's this reversal, a role reversal going on where women are more masculine. It automatically pushes men more to their female side. We're energetic beings, and men will tend to polarize with women. If a woman's more on her masculine side, he'll go to his female side. Let me give you examples of that. Let's say a female side is just to relax, okay? That's one aspect of femininity. My female side, right now, I'm busy developing this talk, giving this talk, focused, achieving my goal. Another part of me is at ease, it's comfortable, it's relaxed, it's peaceful, it's happy, it's joyful, it's grateful. These are all qualities of my female side. You bring the masculine side and the feminine side together of you, and you have creativity. And so let's look at some examples that I just mentioned I would do of a man being on his female side, and we'll look at it. And during the common experience that couples have is women will complain that a man will be relaxed, patient, enjoying his life. Women resent it. My husband, he just sits on the couch, he's watching TV, or he's playing games on his computer, or he's having fun with his friends and they're drinking, and the women get mad about it. Okay, it's like they're on one level. They feel, I want help, and that's a legitimate thing, and I want relationship, and I want connection. And he's ignoring her, and he's feeling at ease, he's feeling comfortable. Simply put, he's sitting on the couch, and he's happy after a day of work. I just came back from Kazakhstan. It was so wonderful. 5 days, I spoke to 5,000 people, must have done 1,000 pictures. I've done, went to the celebrations, a whole big deal. And I can't tell you how good I felt. We were leaving on the plane I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, which wasn't bad because I'm still on another time zone. I was so happy. I just said to my friend I was traveling with, you can't imagine how good, I can't imagine how good I felt. Rushing home to get a glass and listen Friday night, I decided to stay home. Okay, rushing home to get a glass. All right. Glad to have you with the show. Okay, men and women, exactly what the elites have planned growing human in the labs. Okay, yeah, yes, weird stuff going on, folks. So there I am. I've done 5 days of intensive work that I'm really good at. And I just felt so happy, so satisfied. I mean, I feel good now, right? But nothing like that. You just put your heart and soul into it. You affect the world. You feel you have consequence. You feel significant. You feel you made a difference. Now, I don't get to feel that way all the time, but I don't put forth that much energy all the time in a context where it comes back. Now, not all people can have a job like mine, which truly touches people, just, to truly transform people's lives in a few hours of giving a presentation. That's a unique thing. So I can't do that all the time, and that opportunity is not there. And not every guy gets to have that. But what I got to experience is, for every man, is the ability to feel with someone he cares about. That's a different experience. It's the afterglow of making love, to have created a life together with a woman who you feel successful in contributing to her life, and then having children and contributing to their lives, and then having grandchildren contributing to their lives. Yesterday I spent 6 hours with my granddaughter, babysitting the whole day. We went to the little park, the big park. We made lunch together. It was fantastic. These are joys of life, and you have to pay for them. Nothing comes easy. You have to work at it. You have to provide things. You have to be selfless in many, many ways. And people always say, when I go to these events, other speakers will just fly in, go out, and don't want to do pictures or whatever, don't want to talk to people. They say, you're so generous, you're so generous. And I always say to my wife, no, I'm not so generous. I'm selfish. I know how good I'm going to feel by giving. I just found a way to give successfully. I've been reading your books for years, just purchased first Mars, Venus, first book of my 25-year-old son. How wonderful. What a perfect time for him to look at that. That's really, really great. Thank you. Also, for women listening, just remember, this is the most advanced book I've written of all my 25 books. If you've written any of my other ones, this For Women Only book has got the new skills, the new insights, how to deal with the modern world, which we're looking at now. And I'm just talking about the idea of men on their male side. So that was one example of men too far on their male side, which is passive, procrastinating, impatient. Okay, that would be one aspect of it. And you go into that home, and what you'll see is the woman is overwhelmed with too much to do. She's busy worrying about this. She's doing this. She's doing this. She's doing this. She can't relax, and he has no energy to help out. That's a common example of role reversal between a man and a woman, as opposed to a woman being more relaxed and a man being more helpful. It's not that men can't relax. Men need that cave time, but some men just don't come out of the cave. So what we're seeing here is women on their male side, and they go on dates and try to impress guys by everything you can do and what you've done and how successful you are, and it's not working. Okay, that's not the point of the date, is to impress somebody on your how successful you are on your male side. What you want to do is you want to impress somebody. You want to be on a date. You want to be your best self on the date, which is your authentic self, which is not trying to prop yourself up by your accomplishments and your achievements, but it's letting yourself have a good time. This is the secret of attraction, is with a woman. Be fun, have a good time, be at ease. And this is what makes you attractive to a man. What do men want? Men want less, women want more. So men, you have to put forth more on a date. Dress up more. Don't be a billionaire wearing sandals. This is where we've all reversed. Now we have all these billionaires, millionaires all over the place. And so guys basically become ultra casual as a sign of, I don't care about anybody. And you think that's going to impress a woman, turn a woman on. Maybe if you actually had the money, that would be one thing. But it's just like we've become this ultra casual. So you have to ep up your game a little bit and to impress her. And the way you do that is by being your best self. And the way women be that is their best authentic self, which is more happy, more easygoing, more enjoying, more fun, more talkative. Now, that's a big thing. Mars, Venus on a date, one of the emphasis in that book, is how you need to express more of who you are, as opposed to trying to impress them in any way. And instead of focusing on how you're both alike and looking for similarities, actually what allows couples to maintain attraction is differences that can be harmonious together. And so what you want to experience is, and create the experience of being your authentic self, definitely talking more than him. If you're on your female side, you talk more. And I know many women go, oh, men think women talk too much. Women think women talk too much. So you can talk too much, of course. You want to create room to give him a voice, but make sure that your voice is 2 to 3 times more. You want him to experience you. Now, I'm no longer this way so much. I guess maybe I am to a great extent, but not to a problem extent, which is a people pleaser. I like to make people happy. There's no question about it. By temperament, universally, women tend to be more people pleasers than men. And so as a woman, I'm relating now to my female side. When I was with a bunch of friends in high school, and when I was with them, they asked me, and I was new to the clique. It was like a clique, and I was with them and wanted to impress them. I wanted to be part of the group. And the topic of a movie came up. And I liked the movie very much, but then nobody said what they thought about the movie. And I was afraid to say what I thought about the movie because somebody might not like my answer. And so, and even now, I have to, like in my show and then my presentation, I have to realize that I try to stay as best I can away from politics, because as soon as you talk politics, you lose half the audience. Okay, so there's just no win there. So I try to stay away from that, just so I can preserve my message, which isn't a political message, but it's in a world that's become hyper polarized and hyper political. But I remember feeling anxious that, well, what if I said I liked it and nobody liked it, and now I'd lose their interest. So I was like a people pleaser, and adjusting myself to whatever the group was thinking. And this is a normal human thing, particularly in our younger years. Inclusion is one of the most important needs that we have, is we feel part of the group. There was this funny video I saw recently, which is people in an elevator. So there's 2 people in the elevator, and there's five helmets on the floor. And a guy comes into the elevator, and there's 2 people in the elevator, and he's just standing there, and these 5 helmets are on the floor. And then one of the people puts on a helmet, and the other person puts on the helmet, and they're all part of the gag. But so so this one person's kind of wondering why they put in helmets. And thank you. And then somebody else comes into the elevator, and they put on the helmet. And then somebody else comes into the elevator, and they put on the helmet. So there's 4 people wearing helmets, and this other person who's not part of the trick, finally he puts on the helmet. He didn't know why, but figures everybody else does it, I'll do it myself. And this is growing up. This is before we have our sense of our authentic self. And what we want to do on dating is to know that it's the differences that allow us to attract, feel close together. It's masculine energy, feminine energy. That's sort of the whole theme of my books. That's how you really sustain the energy for a lifetime, is maintaining your masculine and feminine energies authentically. So part of being feminine on a date is having him plan the date. He's going to say to you, hey, let's go out. Let's spend some more time together. Where would you like to go? And then she'll say, where would you like to go? That's flipped it. Now we've just reversed the polarity. You don't do what a guy would like to do. You let him find out what you'd like to do, and you say, oh, I like to do lots of things. We could go do this, we could go do this, we could do this. Variety, create a little variety. And so don't just tell him one thing. Let him decide. Anytime a man takes decision, he makes the decision, he owns the date now. But he also feels assured that he can provide something that will be good for you, that you would like. He wants you to have a good time. A man, he says, oh, where do you like to eat? And you might say, well, where do you like to eat? And no, give him 3 restaurants. Always give a few. Let him pick. when a guy picks, he owns the date. When you go on a date, and let's say you go to the movies or you go to a restaurant. Usually it's a restaurant. That's a good beginning for dating, is go out to eat. Then you have the opportunity for him to pay for the meal. Never offer to pay for the meal. Just get that. When a man pays for the meal, you have no obligation beyond that. You've already sort of done your part of it, because women like reciprocity. If you do for me, I'll do for you. So what did you do for him if he pays for the meal? You appreciated it. That's the gift women give to men. And there was even some studies showing that for a man, just being in the presence of a happy woman for 10 minutes will completely change his physiology. We as men mirror women. There's just no doubt to it. There's no doubt that women react and respond to a man's behaviors. I can behave in certain ways, and a woman will respond to that in a negative way or a positive way based upon my behavior. So I have the power to affect how she feels by my behaviors. But women, without behaving, without taking action, just how you react to a man, he will mirror that. This is an amazing power that women have. So when you feel you appreciate what he's provided, he will then feel more appreciation for you. He will value you more. He will bond with you more. So during the attraction stage, what you have to realize is you want to play on moving more to your female side so he can move more to his male side. Because as I mentioned before, we're in this role reversal world where men have gone more to their female side as women have gone more to their male side. And it's just a polarity, energetics. If you take magnets, and you take a North Pole and you slowly move a North Pole over here, it will just switch around. So the South clicks in with the North. And if you have two Norths, then you coming close, then they'll repel. In some cases, as you stay close, then one of the Norths will switch around. And in our culture today, what's switching around is women are becoming more masculine and men are becoming more feminine. And we don't want that to happen. Okay, we don't want men talking about their feelings on a date. So don't ask him about his feelings on his date. Don't talk about the relationship as you've been dating for a while. Just be in the moment, be in the relationship, get to know somebody. And more importantly for women, he needs to get to know you. That's the key, is he goes into you. If you go into a man in his hole, you get something else. You have a hole that's designed for him to fit into. Okay, that's the balance. So you want him to come into you. How does he come into you? By you opening up. And what do women typically do on dating that sabotages on the stage one attraction is they will tend to ask him a lot of questions. Now, women do have the gift of talking, generally speaking, but they will tend to inspire conversation because they want connection by asking questions. And men don't know they're supposed to ask questions. So what can happen on dates is women end up asking questions the whole time, and he talks the whole time. And then in some cases, you pull apart and she walks away and go, all he did is talk about himself. Well, that's because you asked questions all about himself. You didn't talk about yourself. Or you walk away and you say, gee, he didn't ask me anything. And that's because you kept asking him questions and you think he's like a girlfriend who naturally would ask you questions back. Okay, this is what girls do when they get together. They ask a lot of questions of each other. They inspire conversation. And certainly it's a good thing. There can be this scary silence on a date, and then women can, break the silence because you're the communicator, generally speaking, by asking some questions. But what you want to do is regulate the conversation. So you ask questions of a guy, he says something, then you respond. And your response on a date should always be, because you don't have any history with him, you don't have any baggage with him. That's a good thing about dating, is you can start fresh to some extent. So you say things like, well, that's a good idea. Or, I hadn't thought of that. Or, well, that makes sense. What a great idea. Well, you're right about that. These are all like little affirming statements that he's the logical being, that he's intelligent being. You might say brilliant. So those are statements that you don't realize if it's true. I'm not saying fake. I'm saying if it's true. I mean, everything men say on some level makes sense, or a good idea, or you're right about that, or I hadn't thought of that. You can always say, I hadn't thought of that, and then say what you think. So the idea there is it's a buffer. He talks a little bit, and you just say something that affirms that he's a good guy. It's as simple as that. And you just don't know those simple phrases to do, or you might be thinking them and not realizing how good that is. Now, a man on a date, he doesn't have any clue of how important it is to ask you questions. If you ask a question, he gives an answer, then he needs to ask you a question, and you ask him a question, you go back and forth. So communication is so important, where a man gets to know her more, and she can get to know him a bit. But what you don't want to do is, if you want to be authentic, you actually take that bold step of saying what you think, what you feel, what you want if you're a woman. And because you have to realize, I'll just say it like it is, women do wear more makeup. Women are much more protective of hiding what goes on inside and trying to look good by fitting in, like me when I was a young people pleaser. Okay, want to look good, want to be included. What you want on a date is you want these, you're testing out in a practical sense that this person is safe for you to be with, and also that you are who you are. So authenticity is really, really important. Here's where it goes down the hill. So let's say you're talking politics, and he says something, and you just do not agree, and you do not say, well, that makes sense, or I can see your point of view, or well, you're right about da 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 da. See, some validating statement before you say what you think. And what you think can be completely different. But sometimes when people are going to be authentic, I'm going to be myself, I'm going to share whatever I feel or whatever I think, they do it in an argumentative way. Don't argue. Don't make him wrong. See, it's like create a space for both people to have different points of view. That's very important, that you not try to change the person. Some people on a date, well, why would you think that? Well, you shouldn't think that. Well, that's a terrible thing. Well, I can't believe you would say something like that. Or, well, you're wrong about that. You shouldn't do that. You should do this. That's men. They'll be giving you advice and telling you what you should do and not do. Too controlling, too argumentative. These are like bad character traits. And so at least on a date, you can practice not being that overly controlling person if you happen to be argumentative, rejecting. I remember, not that I was dating, but I was just a friend of mine, really a woman, a good friend, and Bonnie's a good friend. And I mentioned that I was just come back from Saudi Arabia. This is many years back. And I was so impressed when I was there that at night in the restaurant, it was out on the desert, and there were like 500 people there, and the men were all sitting together, the women were all sitting together, the kids were all, sitting together, and nobody was looking at their phones. They were all having conversations. I thought that was so healthy. And let's see what this is. Any tips on maintaining feminine masculine polarity in a long distance relationship? Well, let me put that and integrate that in here. Long distance and teens. We want to cover that one. Hands up questions. For instance, the hand up question, asking 4 hugs a day rule. Any alterations? I'm a female. Thank you. Let's get to that as I go through these 5 stages. So, I don't know what happened here. I understand. I got my timing wrong. On Tuesdays I started 11, and on Thursdays I started 10. Okay, so what I was just talking about in the dating situation is that you want to be different. It's nice you have similarities. Similar values is what you're looking for. Somebody who has similar values to you. But, a value could be you're both interested in politics, but you can have different points of view completely. And that could be a really good relationship. It's that you have similar values. All the women that I've ever been with, that I was attracted to and stayed with, had a spiritual value. That was like the most important thing for me. And they also have a health value. It's so ironic that even though I would like it. I've never fallen in love with a woman who would drink alcohol. Can you drink a little alcohol here? No. So I don't drink alcohol either, but I thought it'd be fun to do on a date. Well, I've never been with a woman who drinks alcohol. Uh, and that's so interesting. I've also never been with a woman who smokes cigarettes. These are just not values to me. And I'm not judging it in any way. But health and purity and spirituality, these are qualities for me. I don't judge the values, but that would be interesting that's what I attracted into my life, someone of similar value, and that's what you want. And I would quickly say no to anybody who'd not be interested and lose interest in somebody who didn't have similar values. I mean, to me, it's just like instant. I'll be polite and be nice, whatever. But there's a resonance of frequency that we have to realize happens between two people. When the Heart Math group, they're out of California. They've been doing research for 25 years on the electromagnetic field of the body. And what they found is that they found a lot of things, but when you have mind-heart coherence, and that's going to happen automatically to a great extent on early stage dating. You see, just because there's a newness there, men's testosterone levels go up, women's estrogen goes up, and that puts you into a creative balance. And so you tend to have more mind-heart coherence whenever your heart is open. So when your heart is open, you put out an energy field. When your heart is closed, you put out hardly any energy field. And they can measure it. When your heart is in coherence, you can measure it goes out 30 feet. 30 feet. And so you're affected by things, influence, without being able to see it. It's not like, what outfit am I wearing? What energy am I putting out? And the energy for women that they put out needs to be safety. That's why it's good for women who choose to do this, wear makeup. Okay, makeup really helps you feel safe. In terms of, I'm going to say some weird stuff here, but I just kept wondering this whole fascination with tattoos, why people were getting tattoos. And I have no tattoos. I'm not into tattoos. Basically, I wouldn't be into a woman who was wearing tattoos. It would be for me just, I don't know. That's my preference. Not that it's a bad thing. I have some really good friends of women who have tattoos. Okay, but I wanted to find out what the tattoo was about. And for me, when I put on the tattoo, it was amazing. These are like temporary tattoos I put on my body. I felt so safe. It was literally, when you wear dark glasses, you also feel safe. It's like a protection. You're not being fully seen. I think that one of the things that happened for me during the 1990s, when Men Are From Mars was the #1 best-selling book in the world of all categories, in every category, everywhere, and I was on TV all the time and had an infomercial and people recognized me. Everybody was seeing me all the time. It was a stress on my body. I mean, literally, it's just have people seeing you, being watched all the time. A little bit is nice. Okay, I love it when someone recognizes me or whatever. It's very kind of nice. But there's an anonymity to it where we're not being seen all the time by other people because they're throwing energy onto you, and we are affected by their energy fields. Whether it be positive or negative, it's still, you're not in your own space. So we want to, in the dating situation, kind of forgot my point there. Sorry about that. But I went back to the 90s and trying to define what it's like. I want to say more on that, which is very interesting. I became so famous that people had an image of me, of the guy on the infomercial, and that's just one part of me. And it was literally like another person was in front of me. There was this identity that was not me. I really decided I didn't want that anymore. I mean, I backed off from the whole thing. I just wanted to have my privacy as well. It says everything gets out of balance, so we have to know that. And so I was talking about dark glasses, how it protects us, and I was talking about tattoos, and I had these fake tattoos on. It just felt like I had another layer of clothes, and it was protective. And you can't see all of me. I need to have a security. So again, when we're dating, women wearing makeup is a good thing. You feel more, you have your nice outfits on, you've got facial things on. But I just want you to know, for women, most men don't like heavily made up women. Okay, too much makeup is too much makeup. Just to know that. That can be a repellent. It's too much. So we take that as a metaphor back to men like the authenticity of a woman. To not agree with everything he says is fine. To not be so people-pleasing is refreshing. To be thinking about yourself and what you would like. And another aspect of being a people pleaser is he says, what do you want to do? Whatever you want to do. This is all for you. And oh, no, the date is for you. Ultimately, the energy is always a man wants to feel I'm providing for you. And the same things apply when you're married. Is that the number one turnoff to men? If you want to make a man passive, go too far to your male side and try to please him all the time. See, it's your male side, even though women tend to be people pleasers, it's the male side of us that wants to please others. See, this is you give up your life. You provide for women. You help women. You want women to be happy. What's the saying we all know is a happy woman, happy life. You know, nobody says happy man, happy life, although women do want men to be happy without a doubt. It's just when a woman is unhappy, she doesn't care about your happiness. But when a man is unhappy and you go off and do something that makes you happy, you will brighten his day, particularly if he feels he's provided something for you. That's why marriage can be so wonderful, where women are dependent on a man financially to a greater degree. Then whenever you're happy, he feels, I provided that, I helped you, I gave that to you. And that's where commitment comes along, where you build your life together. So let's move on beyond the well, first of all, in the attraction stage, as teenagers, what girls need to know is when you have sex with a guy and you're still a teenager, what's going to happen is your brain hasn't fully developed. So when you have sex with a guy, I'm not talking about kissing and making out, things like that. Very innocent, very sweet. We're talking about intercourse. We're talking about orgasms. We're talking about oral sex, all those things. When you're in that realm of intensity, for a teenage girl, what happens is her brain will produce huge amounts of oxytocin, and she will lose her sense of self. You have to develop a strong sense of self before you're ready to have sex. And a boy in his teenage years does not have a strong sense of self. He's still learning about himself. He will also have a big surge of oxytocin that gets produced, which will massively suppress his testosterone. And he will lose interest in you, just like that. It's just like gone. So once you have sex, he did it, his brain is filled with estrogen, and he can't stay in that connection. I noticed in stage 2, most men want to have sex. I've tried waiting until stage 4, but it never works. Men expect sex much earlier. Can you give us details on that? Yes, I will be getting to that. We haven't hit stage 2 yet, but we're talking about the attraction stage. And so when you have sex in the attraction stage, in most cases, you sabotage your relationship. And the younger you are, the more pronounced the sabotage is. So you're a girl and you finally have sex with a guy and you're a teenage girl. Your brain hasn't fully developed. You think it has. You think you're so smart and everything, but it hasn't. Your brain actually produces oxytocin, and you and in him. And oxytocin is this bonding hormone. But for men, oxytocin will dramatically lower his stress. He bonds to you for a moment, and his body is not capable of maintaining his sense of self and being connected to you. And hormonally, when the oxytocin goes up, his testosterone goes down, and he has a need to pull away. And that will cause him to go into uncertainty way too soon, because he's going to pull away. His brain's going to just go, well, actually, if it's even before you get to uncertainty stage, the healthy uncertainty, which is he's evaluating, do I really want to be in a committed relationship? You unknowingly sabotage that. And this is really, really challenging when there's a lot of pressure to have sex. And fortunately, nature has a way of correcting things. It used to be that girls and guys in my generation would all go out on dates, and you make out, and you kiss, and you touch, and that was about pretty much it. And then you get a little older, eventually you would have sex. What started happening, I watched with my girls, and when they were teenagers, is they stopped going out on dates because there was too much pressure to have sex. Because everybody's like hooking up, we're going to have sex, we're going to have sex. But since it became they normalized it, the pedophilia community, not the pedophilia, well, they're also it's a community of people who are outrageous in their values. Pedophilia, uh, extreme versions of sexuality without love, we'll just put it that way. Sex without love, indulgence, addiction, all that stuff. It's a tricky topic. I just went off into that world, and I don't want to talk about that at all. I want to talk about, so what they want to do is normalize aberrant behavior, normalize behavior that takes you away from God, normalize behavior that takes you away from your soul, normalize behavior that takes you away from being a productive, happy, fulfilled person. This is evil. Their world is filled with evil. So what the teenagers started doing, so there wouldn't be so much pressure on sex, is they started just going in groups. Let's all go hang out together. So there wasn't that pressure that now now I've given you my ring, or now we're in a committed relationship. Now you're my boyfriend. Now you're my girlfriend. There wasn't a huge pressure that you had to have sex. But once that pressure started to be there, and that's what the question just was, is how do you say no to sex when there's this illusion that everybody's having sex, and the reality is less people are having sex, but a certain group is. That's people online. If you're a guy and you own a house and you're over 6 feet tall and you make a certain amount of money, you're the 10%. We'll call you the alpha males according to our society. The women are all saying yes to you and no to all the 90% of the other guys. So they're not getting it. But the 10% are. And of course, the women are all going with that 10%, and what they're not getting is commitment, because those 10%ers, it's too easy. When you have women running after you, you don't develop masculinity. Masculinity has to pursue the woman, has to win the woman over, has to provide for her. And it's just really tough for guys, because women have become very materialistic, where they have to have this unrealistic view of a man to be turned on, because they're not in touch with their female side. They need a more masculine guy in order to connect with their femininity. But the problem is, the more masculine guy is not going to be attracted to a woman who is more on her masculine side. So masculine women are all looking for, I want this amazing guy who can make me feel feminine. Well, you have to first learn how to feel feminine. And you can't depend on him, and he can then take you to feeling more feminine. He can take you from happy to happier. And of course, that's the theme of my new book, which is for women only. For women only, be happy with or without a man. Because when you can be happy and feminine without a man, then you attract a man to make you happier. And in your relationships at any stage, you have to keep coming back to not being overly dependent on your partner for your happiness in order to feel good. You're going to feel good on your own. You do that through your relationships with other girls, and then you go to a guy to make you happier. So now we're in the attraction stage, and if you have if you have sex in that stage, what's going to happen is he's going to too quickly go into the uncertainty stage. And for girls who are teenagers, without yet the maturity of developing the brain, what will happen is you attach to him and you end up feeling hurt. You end up feeling abandoned. You end up feeling rejected. Everything becomes much more intense when you start to have sex. And by that, I mean not just kissing and touching and so forth. Okay, it's orgasmic sex where he climaxes. That's the problem, is when a guy climaxes with you and he doesn't have a strong enough sense of self and the relationship isn't grounded, he will very quickly move into the second stage, which we'll talk about now, which is the stage of uncertainty. That's the unhealthy uncertainty, which is where you have sex too soon. And then he will completely ignore you. He doesn't think about you. It's out of sight, out of mind. Then he's going to start getting horny again, and he's going to want to come back to you. And you're going to feel burnt out afterwards. And he's just following his instincts. You see, he just doesn't understand. Every cell in his body is doing what men have done for thousands of years, is we're on the hunt for a woman who will accept us into her and who will set up boundaries until she gets what she wants. And eventually that moved into a man who will marry you. So that was the idea of sex before marriage. Why was you wait to have sex before marriage? Because when you have sex, you can have a baby. And if a woman had a baby, then she can't raise a baby alone. She needs a man to do it. So women would go, hey, I'm not going to have sex and have the consequence of a baby if a man's not committed to being there for her. And that's a really, really smart system. Uh, Unless you live in a world where all boys are being tempted to masturbating all the time and getting addiction to sex. And sex becomes addictive for males once you start having sex without love. If you look at the biology of just, they measure this hormone called prolactin. And if you have sex in a committed relationship, your body makes 5 times more prolactin, and that prolactin inhibits your ability to be addicted to sex. So you don't no longer feel horny, okay? So if you have prolactin, you don't feel horny as much, we'll put it that way. But what happens is if you have sex and you don't produce prolactin, like you masturbate or do porn or you have sex right away in a relationship, you don't make prolactin, and prolactin holds us together as a relationship. I've often heard that men want submissive women. Is this true? In some ways, yes. Okay. A woman but in some ways, no. A man will become tired of a woman who is submissive, who is not true to herself. When I say when it's good is when a woman has a yielding nature. Submissive has a lot of bad tones to it. It has a good quality and a bad quality. What men want is a woman who is fluid, who is adaptable, who can go with the flow, who appreciates being led by a man. And let me give you the context for that. You want to see happy women? Watch women who are doing more classical dancing, where a man is leading her. And they're not all just doing their own thing, but he's leading her in a dance, and they all know their dance steps, and she surrenders to that. So the surrendered woman, there's a book called The Surrendered Woman. I'm sure about that one. See, there's good and bad of everything. It's if you become a doormat, not only is it not good for you, but it's not good for him either. He'll lose interest in a doormat. A man wants a woman who knows what she wants, and she asks for what she wants. And sometimes that's often called the B word. And there's the good B word and there's the not good B word. I remember watching a movie once, and this guy was interested in this girl, teenage guy interested in this girl, and the other guys were going, but she's a B, because she thinks about herself a lot. And I just love the response where all the guys were saying, well, she's a B. And he says, yeah, but I like it. There's even a book, it's like, why do men love B's? Okay, and then it's an acronym. But what it really stands for is a woman who has self-respect, and she doesn't give up her needs to please a man, but she asserts herself in a pleasing way where a man can give to her. She's not going to be a doormat, but she's very aware of what she wants and what she likes, and she doesn't do anything she doesn't like to do. She doesn't compromise herself. And men like that. Now, because then he can be successful in fulfilling her. If you don't know what you want and ask for what you want and stand for what you want, then a man truly can't fulfill you. So you have to be aware of your needs. Last 2 days ago, I gave the talk on how love can last. You have to be aware of what you need, and you have to respect those needs, honor those needs, but in a way that doesn't make him bad. So there's a dynamic of my wife today. After Bonnie passed, I'm remarried, and she was married before. And the family couldn't imagine why her husband wanted to be with her, because she wasn't submissive. She's not submissive in anything, but she's forgiving, and she appreciates, and she's trusting, and she's supportive, and she's respectful. All these wonderful qualities are there, but at the same time, she only does what she wants to do. And she's very clear about that. She's not controlled by others. So it's a trick. Again, I guess I should do a whole show on the difference between being a doormat and being submissive. Although in our culture today, submissive it just doesn't work. So my thing is to be more fluid, more flexible, more loving, accommodating, forgiving, but at the same time, know what you want. Don't sacrifice. See, sacrifice is the worst thing. Whenever I see women unhappy in relationships, they'll say, I sacrificed. Look what I did. Look what I gave up. And they live in a world of being victim. And if you live in that world and then you go dating and you tell stories about that, you don't want to tell horror stories of your past And if you're a woman dating a guy, you don't want to be talking about how bad the guys are in your life and how much you've given up. Have a positive outlook about you and about your life. These are key factors. So let's move into the second section here. I did want to touch on that for our teenagers who are all rushing to have sex. You will be much more attractive to a man if you're a girl if you don't have sex right away. But now we have this huge pressure. So now leave the teenagers for a while, just go to the normal adults having relationships. What we do, we see it all in the movies. I have this image right now of a guy meets a girl and there's some at party or maybe at a bar, even whatever it is. I've never even been in a bar. So again, I don't drink alcohol. So I am submissive sometimes, and I also have boundaries. Yes, that's the fluidity. See, you flow into, yeah, let's do that. That sounds great. But that sounds great because that's what I want. I feel good. I like that. I want that. There's women with a weak or poor self-concept will end up with abusive men and be fully submissive. Yeah, that's giving up who you are, giving up what you want to protect yourself or to get what you want. One of the things my wife said that when I were having sex one time, and I said, let's have sex. And she says, yeah. And I said, but I don't want to have sex unless you want to have sex. She said to me, it was so great. She says, I never have sex if I don't want to have sex. I only do what I want. Wow. This is like so good, because then it's a real, in a sense, from my male side, it's a real victory. If she wants to have sex with me, I know it's because I did something to earn it. If she's just accommodating me, that's just the worst thing, is, I'll do it just because you want to do it. Now, having said that, there were times when I had not yet developed my masculinity, and my wife did not feel fully safe in her femininity. She was not always in the mood to have sex with me, and we had much less sex. Having kids growing up and more stress, we had less sex. What happened is we did develop the idea of a quickie, which is, I would just get really horny because she was not, taking care of the kids and breastfeeding and all that. She just wasn't in the mood. And so I would, it's in my book, Mars, Venus in the Bedroom, which is when I'm wanting more sex and she's not wanting as much sex, I would get really, really horny. And without resenting her or feeling rejected, we had a conversation and say, okay, well, we can have 3 kinds of sex. And there's more details on that in my book, Mars, Venus in the Bedroom, which is, one is quickie sex, which is like junk food sex. And then there's healthy home-cooked sex where both people's needs are met. And then there's gourmet sex. And the idea was that gourmet sex is a date, and you take longer, and you put on lingerie, and you've got candles burning, you've got music going, the environment's right, and you take much longer to do it, and make sure she has the orgasm first. Always make sure the orgasm first. Even in healthy home-cooked sex, she has the orgasm first before he has an orgasm. And there's all different ways to set it up so that it happens, but ladies first. But in the quickie sex, he has an orgasm, or his ejaculation is done. And so all the guidelines for the go along with that, which is you don't just have quickie sex all the time. It's also moderated, because too much quickie sex for a man, he will just drain his life force out. But if you have quickie sex, you need to have regular home-cooked sex, and then you also have gourmet sex occasionally. And that way you get a balance of all. Then a woman doesn't resent that she starts to feel like she's just being used as a filling station or something. So there's a resentment that is just for him, because sex is a very, very vulnerable thing. But the whole idea with one of my clients, was explaining to them quickie sex. I said, you can actually lie there like a dead log, and that's the rule. You don't have to perform, you don't have to respond, you don't have to have an orgasm, you can relax. Because women go under a lot of pressure in sex. They can feel if they're not really in the mood, but they know he wants you to be in the mood, and then she feels all this pressure to be in the mood, and he doesn't know how to do the foreplay to put you into a good mood. So there's a lot, and that's a great book I wrote, which is Mars, Venus in the Bedroom. I just think every couple should read that, because it's so beautifully written. It's a different the way I don't know, I became very poetic. I guess that's what happens when you're talking about making love, you become more poetic. It's a beautiful book, a very practical book, educational book. And if I knew, my kids were having sex at some point in their life, I'd make sure if a woman could do this, if she's not getting everything she wants in the bedroom, she just leave the book around. Or if you have a better relationship with communication, you can say, hey, let's read this book together. It's fun. Read one chapter a week or something like that together, and have little talks about it, or not talks, little nods. So that's interesting. It's a way to communicate about sex. Okay, so I want to do 5 stages of dating, and I see we've already gotten pretty far along here, but there's a lot of people, singles, listening, and so these are some of the pitfalls of the attraction stage. There's a whole thing in my book, I want to briefly mention it, which is healthy attraction versus unhealthy attraction. There are many women who have a pattern in their life of going out with a guy, having sex too soon in most cases, but having sex, and then he doesn't call back the next day or the next week, or he ghosts you. What happened? Okay, what happened? What happened is that you had sex too soon, or you had sex with the wrong guy. Okay, so I don't know whether it's the right guy or wrong guy, but what I can know is that you have the case where a guy will have sex with you and it's too soon, and he connects with you, brings up a lot of feelings and a lot of oxytocin, his testosterone goes down, and now he pulls away. And that's because you had sex too soon. If you have time, 3 months, say, before you have sex, people need a number, but it could be shorter, it could be longer. There's no rule on that. It's what your heart says is true. But what happens is, if you take time to have conversation with a guy, spend time with a guy, you bond mentally with somebody. You also bond with values. That's what I call spiritual, but there's a spiritual connection. You just have similar values in life. You also have conversation where it doesn't turn you off, but it turns you on. Your partner is interesting to you. You like them. Then you do dates together. He does things for you. You start to feel loved and supported. Men start to feel successful in making her happy. He starts to gain confidence. I can make her happy. She's happy. You actually have not just knowledge, you have to actually do it. You have to do stuff together where he's, in a sense, helping you and you're receiving his help. That was a bird just ran into my window. So this is the big subjects. I always take that as a sign of be careful when a bird comes out. So I want to be careful with this idea of when is the right time to have sex. There's not a written in stone, okay? I mean, you could make love the first time and end up falling in love for a lifetime. That has happened, okay? As a matter of fact, it happened with me, with Bonnie. But then I didn't marry her. I ended up marrying somebody else. Then after going through all these experiences, came back to her. So it didn't turn out for me that way. Although we eventually got married, many years later. So see what can happen if a guy's not ready, if you haven't connected mentally and emotionally, and he has sex with you. Sex for a guy is fantastic, feels great, but then his testosterone goes down afterwards. He then pulls away, and in that pulling away period, he's not attracted to you. If the only thing he's attracted to is sex, then when the sex goes numb, he's not gonna feel any attraction to you, and he can actually feel, if it's too soon, he can actually feel repelled, and in that repelled, the grass will look greener on the other side of the fence. So he's going to start comparing you to others. And again, if he's one of these alpha guys who's has so many women who he can have, then it's very easy for him. He can't make a commitment. There's so many men that can't make commitments. And part of it is that they don't stay long enough in a relationship without having sex, okay? Which is take the time, be patient. Sex is not everything. It's a matter of connecting with the mind and the heart. And I don't judge people if they're just wanting to go have sex, okay? That's what you want to do. But too much of that actually inhibits your ability to find the right person in the long run. So if your values are to find I'm ready to get married, I'm ready to be in a significant relationship that may grow into a marriage, that's what the 5 stages of dating are about. So just to put that in that context. I don't see people as bad in any way if they've had sex without commitment or whatever. That's their choice and it's their life lesson. But you learn eventually, that it's very empty. and it desensitizes you. And also, sex without love will cause you to be more addicted to sex rather than motivated by love. That's for men. Men have a greater addiction to sex. And women, over time, lose their ability to attach. If every time you've attached to a man without his commitment, then attachment will cause pain. Okay, you attach, and then he's not committed to you. You feel he didn't call back. He's not there for you. Your soul is hurt by that. You've opened yourself up to somebody who's not really seeing you, hearing you, there for you. There hasn't been enough time to establish that. You will feel hurt by that. And when you feel hurt by love, you go into denial. It's a human reaction. When something is hurtful to you, your brain will go into denial of, I don't really need that. That's the story. I tell this story a lot. It's an important story. It's of sour grapes, of the fox that wants the grapes, but the grapes, he can't get the grapes because the fence is too high. He's trying to jump over it. He walks away and goes, sour grapes. Well, then I don't care. Those must be, it's not that important to me. So we deny our important needs for intimacy and love because we've experienced too much rejection. That can all be healed, by the way, but it's not, you don't want to go break your arm just to heal it. But keep in mind that when you break an arm, when I was a little boy, I broke both arms falling out of a tree, bones sticking out of my arms. They were reset, and they healed stronger. That's what happens when you're young and you break a bone. If you reset it, it will grow back stronger. And that's what can happen when our hearts are broken. If we reset it, which is through forgiveness, then it can grow back stronger. My heart has been broken many times, and it grew from that. The biggest heartbreak was when Bonnie died, no question about it, of 34 years. And my heart was just broken, and then healing it. But then my first marriage with Barbara for 2 years, even though it was just 2 years and she was the wrong person for me, she was the right person to learn lessons. I learned a lot in retrospect from that marriage. My heart was broken as well. And I reset it with love and forgiveness, which opened the door for me to truly be more loving with Bonnie. And then in healing my broken heart, losing Bonnie to cancer, healing my heart, I said to my wife now, she said, you love me? Who do you love more? She said, Bonnie or me? And I said, what a question, right? And I said, look, Bonnie's been my whole life. I love her with all my heart. But in losing her, in healing my heart, I became more loving. I am so much more loving now than I ever was before. And so you get to be the recipient of me being more loving. So you're going to get more love from me than Bonnie ever got, although she certainly got a lot. But we are always limited by our capacity, how we can give more of ourselves. And this is the life journey. I'm so much more loving than I am than when I was a younger man. I have that wisdom. I have my heart opens almost all the time. And of course that enriches my sex life and all that stuff. But you go through these stages again and again in your marriage. So we're still just looking at, you'll loop around in these stages, and I'll talk about them in a minute. So we talked a bit about attraction and some of the challenge with attraction. One other challenge with attraction is women who have a pattern of being with men, and you could be with them for quite a while, and then they just disappear and they're gone. And why did that happen? It happens again and again. If you have that pattern, it's quite common these days because girls grow up without fathers and divorced families or unavailable fathers. There's a wound inside of women of the unavailable man. And so what happens when you have the wound of the unavailable father, quite commonly in psychology, it's very well known, is that you will be sexually turned on right away to an unavailable man. Once again, to want to have sex with him, and you actually be really turned on. If you don't have that pattern and you meet a man who is actually available to you, who could be the right guy for you, you won't feel it. You basically don't feel sexual attraction right away. What you feel is curiosity and interest and motivation and a willingness to trust and to open. All of that is with curiosity and attraction on a mental level. And then on an emotional level, feeling happy and safe and comfortable and feeling love for him, falling in love with him. Then, after you have the mental connection, the heartfelt connection, then you feel the sexual attraction. So you actually don't feel this flame on right away with a guy. But often when a woman with that pattern of the absent father, she will tend to feel flame on right away to the wrong men, to dangerous men, to married men, to unavailable men, and you just fall deeply in love with them. You'll feel very attached and you feel very sexual. And if you have that pattern in your life, then to break that pattern, you basically don't go out, you run to another room if you're turned on to a man right away. That's fantasy, it's fake, it's not real. Go, leave that. And if you have that pattern, then the right guy for you, instead of just feeling a natural curiosity and attraction and a good feeling, you'll just feel nothing. You'll be bored. They seem too boring. You're not interested in them at all. And yet they're coming on to you and they're interested in you. So that's really the ideal in every situation for women. The man should always be more interested in you. Then you can begin to break these habits of being a people pleaser or being codependent, which is very common for women, which is having your happiness come from his happiness. That's codependence. That's making his needs more important than your own. And so when his happiness becomes more important than your happiness, which is a bit which could happen with what was sometimes interpreted as submissiveness. If I just make you happy, I'll be happy. Really, that's a doormat. If I can make you happy, then maybe I'll get crumbs from you. That's not healthy. And so one of the ways, of course, you can ensure a man's love for you is give him what he wants. And single guys have one part of them that just wants to have sex. And let's just deal with that for a moment, which is a guy just wanting sex. He's not a bad guy, okay? He's just doing what his body is designed to do and what his soul needs. Because it's when men feel turned on, that's the only time that he can access 50% of who he is. Now, that's a bold statement. What does that mean? Well, what that means is that boys and girls in the womb, there are no such thing as boys. We're all girls for the first, the genes, they're expressed inside of us as little boys are the same as girls. So we're all little girls. And then, except the boy has, from his father, he gets the Y chromosome. The Y chromosome, the girl doesn't have it. That Y chromosome, after about a month, releases 23 genes that girls don't have, baby girls. And the function of those genes in a boy is to override many of his female genes. So literally he comes in whole and then he loses, we can abstractly say he loses half his genes. He loses much of his female side. They're just overridden. And they can be somewhat activated up to the age of 13. We don't know exactly the details on this, but we do know that when a boy is up to 13, his testosterone is still so low, he's more like a little girl. So he can receive his mother's love and activate many of those feminine genes inside of him. He can receive. But after puberty, his mirror neurons close. His testosterone increases 20 times. He becomes more masculine at that time. And then his female genes are pretty much closed. And the only way they open up again or open up for the first time is, after they were closed down, they open up again, is when he's making love or when he's turned on to a woman. So when he's turned on to a woman, what happens is his testosterone goes up and his estrogen goes up. His female hormones are rising together. That's why it feels so good. It just feels great to be whole and complete. And that's why men need women. Whereas women really don't have to have a man, okay? This is why they can be more picky, because they have all the genes, except for her to hold both her male and female side. She can depend on a man to hold the masculine energy and allows her to reconnect with a deeper level of her femininity. And so that's the benefit of men, is we create a safety, we hold a space, we contribute help so she can feel safe in her feminine side and doesn't have to do it all. So that's for women, is to not have to do it all, and for men to experience it all is one way of looking at it. And that's biological. They can measure this. As a man is turned on, that's when his mirror neurons open the most. Mirror neurons allow him to feel what somebody feels. Otherwise, he can't feel what others feel. That's why you'll see more men in jail, is because they just think about themselves and not the consequences of their behavior, how this is going to affect somebody. This is why ultimately for men, one of the best things, and why you shouldn't have a politician ever thinking about other people's needs. If they don't have children, first a wife that loves them and children. Because it's only when you have children that you can edge into the possibility of unconditional love, which means I'm here truly for you and not just for myself. See, our politicians are all corrupt. They have to be corrupt. They have to be corrupt. They might start out good, but they have to be corrupt because the only way to get reelected is with lobbyists who give them money to publicize themselves. And if they don't have the lobbyists who give them money to do these values, and so, I have a friend, and he was running for governor of California. He said, well, I had to stop that because people were giving me money, but then I was beholding to those values of those people. If I didn't do what they wanted me to do, they wouldn't give me money. And of course, what they want is, the whole corruption of the corporate world, where corporate leaders can make millions of dollars in a year and pay people minimum wage. This is just a horrible, horrible place. I'm happy for people to be richer than others. I have no problem with that. But when you have such a distance, it's evil. It's just evil, and it could be good people. But what happens is when you have children, the way I look at it, I love my wife because she becomes an expression of my own female qualities, okay, and awakens, I connect with my female side through her. So now I'm becoming more selfless. Then you make babies, if you have the good fortune of that, you have these little people who are you. So now I can be selfishly giving to these little kids, and until you finally learn generosity, as my wife says, she can't believe how generous I am, how giving I am. It's simply because I know that if I'm generous to others, that it makes me happy. They will be happy, and their happiness makes me happy. So it's always, in a sense, a healthy version of selfishness, a more mature version of selfishness. And women can have a mature version of selfishness, which is give my partner the opportunity to give more to me. That's the whole key. So now we covered a lot of a lot of the attraction stages. What a beautiful answer you gave to your wife when she asked you who you love more, her or Bonnie. That was inspired. Well, thank you. I was really grateful for it too. It just came through me when I said that to her, and it was just true. It's what is true. We grow in love. So we talked to some of the challenges and issues of dating, the attraction stage. Now let's move into the uncertainty stage. So let's say you've succeeded and you're feeling this attraction for each other, and you're feeling like, wow, I could really have a deep relationship with this person, or a lasting relationship. I want to be in a monogamous relationship with this person. At that point, it's like, I'm going to buy this house. Then then what will naturally happen is fears will come up, uncertainty. Well, I'm not sure. So you can't feel uncertain if you're not thinking, I want to do something. But now that I'm considering being in a committed relationship and not dating anybody else but being with this one person, now I'm not sure, is that the best decision to make? That doesn't mean, if you feel uncertainty, that this person is wrong. It just means it's natural before making a serious committed decision to feel uncertain. And uncertainty will naturally emerge, particularly more uncertainty will occur if you've been having sex, just put it that way. But even without sex, and you're thinking now, okay, maybe I'm going to have sex, or maybe I'm going to be in a committed relationship, uncertainty will come up with the commitment part. So the tendency, now we're looking at each stage, understanding a little bit, and then knowing some of the ways we unknowingly sabotage. And I talked a lot about the attraction stage, so a little less on the next stages. But this is going to be, once you're in uncertainty, what men will tend to pull away and just disconnect. Women will tend to pursue. And they will like, what's the matter? What's going on? What are you feeling? Let's talk about the relationship. And this is the worst time to ask questions, to go after him. When he pulls away, he needs time to be uncertain and then spring back. And so this is kind of a natural thing. Men should know that just because you feel uncertainty, it doesn't mean she's the wrong woman. It means it takes time to feel that bond and to gain certainty to make a commitment. And women, you don't want to ask him questions about, does he care about you? Does he want to be in a relationship? What are his feelings? Where are we going with this? At a time where he's already uncertain, that will just push him further away. And so what you need to be looking at is, rather than reflecting on what is he feeling, what are you feeling? And it's an important time where you're uncertain and wondering what he's going through, or you could be uncertain. That's just the most common. But often women are like, I'm not sure I want to be with him. So that's the good question to ask, is like, is he really the person for me? And the way you learn whether he's the person for you is not by asking questions, but by taking time to feel your independence without him. This is so key. This is when couples have big problems and they want to divorce. Most therapists will say, well, first separate for a while. First, stop looking to your partner as a problem and look to your life and see that when you leave your partner temporarily, when you leave your partner temporarily, your problems are still there. Okay, you no longer can blame your partner for how you feel. You have to look at yourself. Well, if I'm not feeling good, I'm responsible for how to feel good. And then you start creating a life separate from your partner. And then there's space for your partner to make you happier. So a lot of couples will come back to being better after taking time apart. I mentioned on Tuesday, I mean, it's now been almost a week. It's been 5 days since I was on my trip that I was just on, Kazakhstan. And so 6 days away from my wife gave me enough space so that we're having so much sex. It's unbelievable. Why? Because we had that space apart. And I reflect back on that and I go, well, why did I have such a good sex life with Bonnie? Same thing, is that my job allowed me to go, or I would be away for 3 days on most weeks. So I was away. I was off doing my job. I was teaching classes around the world and coming home and then being with my wife, taking my time for myself. And I got into a really good rhythm, which is I would come home and had to say to myself, my first day home, I'm not yet home. I'm here. I'm not going to take time for me. Everything's for her. And then I would have a day off for me. But also on long trips, because it was a 22-hour trip to come back to Kazakhstan. So I had plenty of time to be on my own, to do my phone stuff. I do my meditation, watch a few movies. It was all just me time, cave time. And so it was when I come home, I was just ready to be totally attentive to her, missing her, attracted to her, and her being attracted to me. It's really giving space in relationships is so powerful. And that's what the uncertainty stage is. You create once you've been together a lot, create some time apart, not yet sure, create the space. And just to know, women need to know is that when you give men that space, he's like a rubber band. He'll pull away, but then he'll spring back. And what gives him the confidence, even before you get to the full uncertainty stage, is even in the attraction stage, not seeing each other all the time. You've got to have time apart, come back together, time apart, to come back together, time apart. And particularly if you're having sex during that time, have lots of time apart and come back together. But even then, it isn't ensured. It could be you're just a booty call women. I mean, he's getting his needs met, every week, every 2 weeks or something. He gets really, really horny, gives you a call. Don't give in to that. Find a man who's going to be there for you instead of a man who's just using you sexually. And he doesn't know better. Because why do men want sex so much? It's because it's only through sex that they feel whole. And so they start to feel love. And so if he's feeling all this love for you at that time, he is feeling it. He's not faking it, but it's just not sustained. You've rushed too far into too much intimacy. So now he's pulled away, and while he's pulled away, it's very easy for him to be distracted into having sex with another woman or being with another woman, or another woman seems more. And if you're a man and you want to find a woman to last, you want to give yourself time and investment into a relationship. When you're in the uncertainty place, don't go off, don't do porn. If you're horny, just practice chosen celibacy. Don't go release your energy. Let it build up, and you will start to miss her. But before you miss her, you will find some other woman more attractive, or you might go to do porn, and then it decharges the attraction that would build up by pulling away and coming back together, pulling away, coming back together. And this is part of this dance of getting close, pulling back together, is what builds confidence in a man, that even when my attraction goes away, it comes back. Because men are not feeling attraction all the time. Out of sight, out of mind. We've got files in our brain, and one file is you, another file is my work, another file is my buddies, another file is my meditation. So it's like I'm not feeling attraction all that time. So what I want, what you want is to give yourself the experience, because when you're young, you don't know, is this the right person? Do I just feel my hormones and my attraction? Is that going to do it? What's going to do it? He has to experience that even when his attraction goes away, it will come back. Even when he's not feeling that good about you, suddenly he does feel good about you. Its moods will change and go up and down. And the same thing for women. When you start to go down, your moods, and Men Are From Mars, I explain, and in the new book, I also explain the biology of why women will tend to go up and down, their moods and so forth, and their confidence and their trust and their happiness. At those times when you're feeling insecure, you'll go from confidence to insecurity. And when you go to insecurity, that's where you'll try to want to talk about the relationship and unknowingly sabotage it. That's when you'll, in the place of insecurity, you could become more submissive, the negative kind of submissive, where you'll sacrifice for him and you'll give more than you're receiving. You'll feel needy, and that will be a turnoff to him as well. So you go through the stage of uncertainty by finding a ground of happiness in your own life. For men, it's finding a ground of happiness without going to a woman for it. See, this is why men who cannot be happy alone are not ready to be happy together. A man has to learn how to feel good about himself, so he's not looking to a woman to feel good about himself. He has to be the result of his actions that he feels good about himself. That's called confidence. And then he can be happier through a woman's love. But he has to be the ground. He has to find his masculinity. And then he finds the balance of his masculine and feminine with a woman. Okay, so the uncertainty stage, the saboteur there was for women pursuing a man at that time, and for men going off and doing porn or masturbating after you've pulled away from her. Because what will happen if you don't release that desire through satisfying it, gratifying it through masturbation or porn, then it builds up inside and you can go back to her. So give the relationship a chance and don't go fooling around on her if you're in the uncertainty stage. And for women, you need to, in a sense, find happiness without becoming needy. Look at other needs that you have. So you've gotten through that stage. He makes a commitment. You make a commitment, and you decide to be together. How do you have that conversation where you want to make sure you're in a committed relationship? Because you're not really talking a lot about the relationship during the uncertainty stage. He's going to make moves on you during that time to want to have sex. And one of the easiest ways to have the conversation of, are we in a committed relationship, is to basically say, I'm more traditional. I don't like to have sex right away. But one of the first requirements I have is I need to be in a committed relationship. And then I feel safe enough to start moving in that direction. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. I know other people are going to do their other things, but basically, this is really, really important that you get a verbal commitment from him that he's in a committed relationship with you and he's not seeing anybody else. And certainly, when it seems like you're out of the uncertainty stage, you can bring up the subject when you're not feeling needy or dependent or desperate or anything like that, and just say, are you dating anybody else? And he'll say no. And you say, is your intention just to date me and to see where we go with this? And you do it from a non-needy point of view, without like, we need to talk about the relationship and I'm anxious and stressed. One of the things I explain in my book, for women only, that anytime you bring up an issue which you really need some security from it, so you're in a state of adrenaline, okay? Whenever there's a charge on the conversation, the tone of your voice reveals that you're in a state of adrenaline. He will mirror that. He will go into a state of adrenaline. And his mirror neurons in his brain will shut down, and that will increase your adrenaline because you will feel disconnect, right? As soon as you say, we need to talk, there's a stress reaction inside of him, and he will shut down automatically. It's not like he has a choice. He has no choice in these things. Immediately his brain will go into disconnection. And if it's the commitment talk, it will probably go into cortisol even, and then it goes into his fears of intimacy and whatever. So you got to go slow with this whole process to make sure it lasts. And then you have the conversation where he's wanting to, do more sex. Let's say he's gotten the first base, second base. Let's do third base, fourth base, or just fourth base, and slide into home base. Okay, so when he is wanting that. And even you're wanting that. I mean, you can want that. As I mentioned, you could want that on the first date just because of your father issues. And yet it's not appropriate. It would push you guys right into uncertainty. You would have the anxiety of, does he love me? And he would have the rejection of, I'm not that interested in her. And particularly if a man has sex with a woman right away and she's totally into fantasy of what her life could be like with this guy, and he has sex with you, because you're completely in fantasy and you don't even know him and you're having sex with him, he will be repulsed by you. Okay, this is another thing that some men experience, which is they love having the sex was great, and then afterwards they feel disgust. And part of it is disgust with themselves because they just did something, they opened up and they got nothing. It's the same kind of shame. Disgust is a variation of shame. And when he feels that shame, many times, rather than feeling that I feel ashamed, he will look at you as disgusting and judge you. Just as for women, if you know the experience of a man sort of talking sexually, pushing himself on you sexually, and you're not yet ready for that, you're not open to that, when you see his sexuality, it just looks so disgusting. You feel, disgusted by it. That's what he feels after having sex with you if there's not a real loving connection. And he can be making love to you in a very loving way, but if there's no bond, then he doesn't get any energy. When he opens his heart, nothing comes through. It's all fantasy from your side because you're imagining, you're living in the future that, if I just have sex with him, he will be there, he will love me. And he will like you. And one joke I heard on this was that, does a man really feel disgusted by you after sex? No, the joke was, does a man really like you less if you have sex with him without commitment? And the answer is, the guy says, well, I don't know about that, but I do know he likes himself more. But just because he likes himself more doesn't mean he likes you, just to let you know. Although some people say, real love is, how a person feels about themselves and their presence. I have to feel who I am, and then I feel more of who I am in providing with my partner. And that should be the case for women, ideally, too. You have to feel beautiful. When you feel beautiful, a man is so turned on to you. When you feel confident about that you are worthy of love, that you feel good, then you become more attractive to him. Because another essence of femininity is when you feel safe and trusting. And when you feel self-assured that I deserve to be loved. That feeling of I deserve to be loved. Not the angry feeling of I deserve to be treated better, but it's a peaceful feeling of true feeling self-assured. I feel self-assured. I feel beautiful. And, with all of our pressure on women to look a certain way in our culture and all the magazines and the marketing, using sex to sell, a woman's kind of body, it's hard to feel secure about your beauty. And this is why we need the reassurance exercise in marriage is women's bodies no longer look as young as they were, and all the attention goes to the young women, so she may feel less worthy, less beautiful, more wrinkles, maybe extra weight, whatever it is. Her insecurity about that is the insecurity about it that actually makes her less attractive. This is the key. If a woman feels beautiful, a man will feel attracted to her. So keeping that attraction is staying on your female side, because you are beautiful. Femininity is beauty. When we appreciate beauty, we're appreciating femininity. Flowers, you see a flower. I was looking at my garden, the different colors in the garden. It's so beautiful. That's feminine energy. It's beautiful. And what a woman can do is if her body isn't as beautiful from her point of view as it was when she was younger, then what happens is she can wear something beautiful. And that is also, some beauty needs to be expressed through the way you dress, the perfume that you might be wearing, the the facial makeup that you might be wearing, all of these things make you feel safer. We talked about tattoos earlier, same thing with makeup, same thing with dark glasses. Anything that makes you feel protected and safe is going to make you more attractive to a man, which is why, I remember back when dark glasses first came in, it was like movie stars would wear them, Ooh, look, that person's wearing movie stars. I see young women sometimes putting on their glasses, I look so cool, so confident. But you want to feel that's sexy. Sexy is confidence. Sexy is self-assured that I'm desirable. I'm desirable. And you are desirable. But the key is in my talk I gave of what do men want. That's how you really learn how desirable you are and all the details of what men really, really want. And ultimately, it comes back to our basic needs. When a man feels that he can be successful with you, he feels appreciated by you, he feels you're not trying to change him, and you can depend on him for your happiness to some degree in some meaningful way, you are so attractive to him. Not when you're giving to him, it's when he's successful in giving to you. So that knowledge is so important to make you feel beautiful and attractive. Okay, so then so we're talking about commitment. Now, what will happen once you've got the commitment, and somebody asked me earlier, it's like, well, so much pressure on men to have sex right away. See, biologically, we have that pressure, but if society is saying, hey, you don't get it until you're married or in a committed relationship, then you don't feel bad about yourself that you're not having sex, okay? Nobody's having sex unless they're married, so I'm not ready for that yet. So now there's a greater pressure on men. You've got your biological pressure that you can handle because of culture giving you support here. Not everybody's getting laid. Now you've got this message which is coming from our culture and the movies. I mean, I've seen these movies where the guys just get laid right away. They meet. And there's this one scene where I really realized this is like propaganda again. It's, they're two adults and they're just connecting and then they're going off and he's, I forget what he was saying, but she just says, hey, I'm cool. I've been here before. I know the ropes, meaning she was going to have him come to her place and have sex. And it was just such a casual thing. When you make sex casual, you don't have the depth of love and intimacy. It just has destroyed our culture to such a degree, casual sex, as opposed to making love. That's what it is. It's a sacred act. It's two souls coming together. The brain opens up. You receive the energy of that person, or you open up and you receive nothing, and it wounds your soul. Okay, enough on that. So now you're in a committed relationship, and what happens in a committed relationship is men will feel successful and they automatically become passive. It's like, I did my job, now I get my reward. And women will notice that he's now starting to give less. She's already opened her heart to him, and he notices his passivity sets in. She starts giving more. And now you get into this cycle of giving more as he gives less. And the more you give more, the more he's going to get the message that I must be doing a good job because you're giving me so much love and affection, whatever. So it's not to stop loving him, but what you want to do in that stage is create the opportunity for him to give more. And this is very important for all married couples because you're in a committed relationship. And now what's going to happen is men tend to become passive. They feel like, I've done my job, I don't have to do more. I get to retire, so to speak, even though you're still at young age and so forth. And so he, in a sense, retires his masculinity, and she gets a job of trying to earn his love. And you want to step out of that place, and you want to start becoming conscious of not overgiving if you're a woman. And for men, you want to be conscious of giving more. But what you give more is giving more of the little things. You already did the big stuff. You're in a committed relationship or in marriage. You're already married. You're providing. You're doing whatever you can do. You can't do more. Well, you can do more. You can do more little things. And that's the key to it. And again, there's a limit to how much more little things you can do. But when they're little, they're not expected, it produces more dopamine. And for that, those techniques, they're all in my new book for women only. There's just such wonderful techniques in there. But you have to put forth the effort. The effort, we think, oh, now that we're married, we shouldn't put forth any effort. Because it didn't take so much effort in the beginning because you had newness, dopamine in the brain. Well, once dopamine goes away, it does take some effort. Just like you go to the gym, you have effort to build your muscles. You don't have to do it all the time, but you have to put forth some effort. And women, the effort you need to put forth is to do less, ask more. And the effort for you is to overcome the fear of rejection when you ask for help. Your fear is to think that he will think less of you, and he will bond with you more when you give him little tasks to do, sometimes bigger tasks to do that would make you happy. Lisa says, nature designed is to walk around naked while other animal species, creatures, yet humans decide to defy nature and suffer from vitamin D deficiency. Okay, well, I don't think we all have to walk around naked. It does make sexuality too casual. Somebody figured this out, not just because weather, you have to protect yourself from weather, and animals have natural protection from weather. We don't. We don't have hair all over our bodies to protect us and so forth. We do need vitamin D for sure, but we're not designed. Somebody figured this out a long time ago, that you become sexier, women, when you're not naked all the time. See, this is the women figured this out. This is the whole idea of striptease. You know, you don't just show it all. You show a little, and you show a little bit more, and you show a little bit more. You'll see the Chinese dresses that show the body, and they have a little slit, so you get a little bit of the leg, and then the curiosity is, oh, what's inside of there? It's always a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. You cover up, and then you reveal only to the people you feel safe with. That way, when my wife reveals her naked body to me, she didn't do that for anybody else. That makes me significant. See, this is, and when a woman reveals herself only to her partner, then it's not a casual thing. It's something special. And it's a symbol of, I feel safe, I'm vulnerable. And therefore, I'm walking around, I feel I'm affected by other people's thoughts and feelings, so you cover up. And now here in my relationship, I only reveal to him. You've preserved your vulnerability. If you just walk around not caring about what people think, naked, I don't care what you think about my body, which a lot of women are doing now. I don't care what you think about my body, I'll just put it out there. Then what you've done is you've denied the vulnerability of, I do care what people think about my body. This is, my nakedness. This is me. So vulnerability, I've talked about it as well. This is the number one thing that creates sexual attraction, is that you're vulnerable and you reveal it only to certain people because you trust them and you accept them, as opposed to, I don't really care what you think of my body. That's casual, that's callous, that's blocked, that's a denial of the need to feel loved, the need to have someone adore you and think you're beautiful, just the way you are. Just the way you are. Okay, so then that's the stage of commitment. Then we're going to move into the stage of intimacy, which, again, you need to have a foundation before you can truly reveal what comes up in relationships. That's when you're going to have an argument, you're going to have a disappointment, your feelings are going to get hurt, and you're going to go deeper. You're going to be upset about something, and you want to be able to have someone be there for you. Because what happens is once you start having sex, we'll call that intimacy, physical intimacy, and then emotional intimacy, is once you have sex, you become like a child. You're naked with somebody. You have no defenses against them. You're open with them. Now, what that happens is that brings up all the feelings, unresolved, repressed feelings from your childhood, one layer at a time, when you had your heart open and you were naked and you had no defenses and your brain didn't even have defenses. And this is what happens when you have sex with somebody. That's why it brings up all this stuff. It's physical intimacy will bring up your unresolved feelings inside. Your relationships has a bunch of ups and downs. And based upon learning the skills in my book, you become safe to express those feelings. I want to remind my producers over here, next week on Tuesday, I want to do a whole talk on how our brain becomes hijacked by the past. We'll come up with a good title for that. But once you have sex, literally you become hijacked. How you behave is sometimes like a child. You get your feelings hurt. Whenever your feelings are hurt, you're 6 years old, you're 4 years old, you're 3 years old. Just little Elodie, my 3-year-old, she starts to go, we're having a fun time together. And then she says, but you're going to leave and be gone for a while. And then she starts to cry. Her feelings are hurt. Already she's feeling bad and rejected. And then I just gently say, and I'll be back soon. I'll be back soon. We'll go to the park. Oh, we're going to go to the park? Yeah, we can. Can we go to the little park and the big park? Yeah, we can go to the boat. So they just move through it very quickly. But they don't have a brain to understand things, so everything is more extreme. They're not just afraid, they're scared. They're not just sad, they're hurt. They're hurting inside. They feel rejected, they feel excluded, they feel left out. They just need grounded parents who can not make a big deal out of their feelings, but just be present with them and know that everything's okay, everything's all right. But my point is here as adults, once you start having sex, you start getting your feelings easily hurt. And you have to learn how to manage that responsibly. And that's what you learn in this book for women only. How do you manage those feelings of hurt? And for men as well, you read this book, you'll realize your role in this whole thing. And in all my books, basically, when you're feeling hurt, then you're going to have longer time in the cave because you're going to withdraw from anything that hurts. So we tend to pull away from that. And so you need to know how to process your feelings. In all my books, it's there, how to write out your feelings, because that's when feelings start coming up. Before that, you're more confident, and then suddenly insecurity comes up. What I wanted to say also back earlier stages, I left out one thing, is that because we're in role reversal, I gave one example of that, which is women being on their male side, and they're all confident, look, I can take on the world. When a man starts to connect with a confident woman, I can take on the world, look how great I am, and how shut down I am to my female side, it pushes men to their female side thinking about connecting with you. You're on your male side, it pushes him to his female side to connect, and that as opposites connect. So he has greater fears, greater insecurities, so he doesn't approach you. So in the dating stage, just be aware of that. It can be like shy, it could be he doesn't approach you. So many times a guy's interested in you, he doesn't approach, he doesn't know how to do it, and you're over on your male side, making him actually feel more insecure inside. So what you can do is just be proceptive. I write about that in Mars, Venus, and the Date. Proceptivity is how you can take the first step so he can take his first step. So he can pursue you, but you've got to give a signal, a clear signal, that you're open to his pursuit. Some movies have done this well on a date where the woman says to the guy at the end of the date, it's kind of the kiss, and she said, if you want to kiss me, I'd like that. Just something that takes a lot of guts to say that because you could be rejected. But the reality, it would be very bonding because it's a very vulnerable thing. Everything that has to do with women being vulnerable is going to help a man bond to you and be attracted to you. And that's a scary thing to do. But you're already on your male side, so you have more confidence on that side. So you just basically confidently approach him in a way that makes you more vulnerable, which is, and if you wanted to kiss me, I'd be happy. I'd like that. So something like that. And then, of course, what do you do when you're not interested in a guy and he goes for the kiss? Then just dodge the kiss. That's kind of like, I'm not there yet. You can always dodge the kiss and go for the hug. And it's like we put so much addiction to sex because of all this pornography in our culture and sexuality and everything. You don't have to have sex right away. Anyway, so now we're in stage 4, intimacy. Stuff will come up. We need good skills for that. Women need to understand men in their cave. We come out of our cave without having to talk about it. What man can know if you can't come out of your cave. Really, the real essence of coming out of your cave is just go do something to build your testosterone and forget whatever have hurt you. And for women, process your hurt by talking to somebody else. Don't go tell him he hurt you. That will sabotage your relationship. My new partner has type 1 diabetes. He's physically fit, buff, but he has had so much stress. We're healing with each other with polarity and hormones. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Our life has stress, and understanding these differences, we can help each other. Sickness, I'm 74 years old. That's all we ever talk about. Who's taking this, what health issues somebody has. We're here to help each other, and that's how we grow in love. No matter what our obstacles are in our own lives, coming together to help each other is what allows us to grow in love and allows us to experience greater intimacy. And now you're ready for the proposal, and often women will say, how do I get him to propose? It's gotten to that stage. You're already a year into a relationship. If you're young, maybe 2 years, whatever. What about the proposal? And you don't want to just go to him and say that, hey, you need to propose to me. Because a woman's sort of romantic feeling is that a man does propose to her. She doesn't have to say, you should propose to me. he kneels to her and proposes to her. It comes from him. There's a polarity there, which is really positive. But at the same time, we have this tendency in men today, because they're more on their female side, making a commitment and getting married is a risk. There's always risk associated with it. And therefore, men want to minimize risk because they don't have high testosterone. And so what they'll do is their thinking is like this: I love you and everything is great. Why do we have to mess it up with commitment? Why do we have to bring the government into it and all that stuff? And so having said that, much of what the government stuff is protections, and there's some logic from it, and some of it there's no logic at all, and it's horrible. I'm not going to get into all of that, but I do know marriage and commitment is a very important sacred act. And often I hear women will say, well, he's not proposing. That's because he's feeling like, hey, I'm getting everything I want. Why do we have to change it? Why do we have to bring anything? Why can't we just be in the moment and stay in the moment and so forth? That doesn't work for women, for most women. So what we want to do is have a conversation with him where at a certain point you will say to him something along these lines, and I give different examples in my book, Mars, Venus on a Date. I'm 35 years old, my clock is ticking, and I love you. I want to spend my life with you. I know you love me. I know you want to spend your life with me. But if we're not going to get married, then I start feeling insecure, and I start to doubt, and I stop being the open-hearted person that I want to be with you. So I just want to let you know that I do have a clock ticking. Done. You sort of present the problem without trying to seal the deal, but letting him know in an indirect way, which is, I love our relationship. I know you want to be with me. I want to be with you. It's so good, and I want to have children. A clock is ticking. I need a commitment. I need to be married. I want to be married. It's important to me, and I don't want to tell you what you have to do. It has to come from you as well. But I just want you to know that the longer it takes, I start to close down, and then I'm afraid I'll stop wanting to marry you or be with you. So these are like, make it more casual, more gentle, and then back off from it, and then let it create a space where he can then make the decision on his own and bring it to you. And what I say in my book, man, is try to make your proposal to her special, because so many people will say, well, how did he propose? What did you do? And go online and ask Chat GPT, give me 20 different romantic ways to propose if you don't know, to get some ideas on how you might make a special occasion for her to propose to her. So she can then, for the rest of her life, tell her friends, how did he propose? Because women will tend to do that. So there you go. You've made your proposal. He's proposed. And now you want to give yourself time. I mentioned in the beginning, give yourself a good 6 months, 9 months before you go get married, because you're in this wonderful zone where you still have room to get to back out, so you don't feel claustrophobic. And claustrophobic can be, some people, terrifying. I know for me, I got one of those hyperbaric chambers, but the little ones that are made out of plastic, and they zip them up. And I was fine going in to zip it up. But then I said to him as he's zipping it up, I said, now if I need to come out, I can just unzip it. He says, well, first we have to decompress, and it will take several minutes. I was out of that thing just like that. Okay, that's just the fear of not being able to escape. To have a little opening, and there's so you want to, without that fear coming up, where you still have the freedom of being able to get out of it. You're not yet tied the knot, so to speak. And tying the knot is a great, great thing, because then you don't have a back door. It makes it more complicated. Having children, again, you don't have an easy out, and that forces us to overcome our own inner demons that become hurt feelings and the defiant, and I don't need your love, and I don't care about you. I went through this many, many times. I go to my cave. How dare she talk to me this way? I'm being mistreated, not being appreciated, whatever. Throw a little tantrum privately, and then go out and do something, raise some testosterone, and you just forget it all. And you come back and you remember that you love your partner. We're human beings. Our hearts open and they close. They open and they close. We have to learn. Don't believe anything you think when your heart is closed. So I've gone a bit over time today going through the 5 stages of dating. I'm sure you have many, many questions. Please go to my book, Mars, Venus on a Date. It's a big book, and there's a lot of good information in there that I wasn't able to cover today. I want to thank you all for joining me and going a little overtime today, and I look forward to seeing you next week on Tuesday. And we're going to talk about the way the brain becomes hijacked by stress and how that becomes a sabotage, how we unknowingly sabotage our relationships, and what we can do about it so we don't. This is going to be such a fun talk. We'll do that next Tuesday. Thank you all for joining me. Have a great day. May you always grow in love.
Thank you for watching the Shades of Grey podcast with Dr. John Gray, best-selling author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And follow Dr. Gray on all social media platforms for more timeless relationship wisdom. For free tools to create deeper love and better communication, visit marsvenus.com and take Dr. Gray's free course, How to Get Everything You Want in Relationships. And don't miss next week's episode of the Shades of Grey podcast, where understanding brings us closer together.